A report of shots fired at Blythewood High School this morning was a hoax, one of several across the state today.
The call came in at 10:25 this morning that someone had been shot inside a room at the school. Richland deputies responded and implemented their active shooter protocols. However, it was quickly determined that the call was a hoax, one of many across the state. Students were released to their parents from the Blythewood High School stadium. Authorities say even though this turned out to be a false alarm, they have to take these kinds of threats seriously.
We do have some students that are upset. We've got parents that are upset. Even though it was fake, the emotions are real. The fear that they felt is real. It was like it was the real deal. And that's what they felt. And that's how our response was, that it was a real active shooter in one of our schools. So again, completely a hoax, nobody injured, no shots fired. Nothing happened except the response from everybody was a great response.
Well, the State Law Enforcement Division released a statement late today saying that they are investigating all of this, encouraging all law enforcement agencies to take these threats seriously.
One thing we know is that when things like this happen, videos come in quickly on social media. Some of the pictures and video being sent in by students. And as I mentioned during Friends at 5JR, just as a Richland 2 parent, there's absolutely nothing that prepared me to see these children walking through the halls with their hands on the back of their heads to prove that they weren't involved in the shooting. And then there are other videos where if you listen closely, you can hear the kids actually crying in the videos.
This scene played out at several schools, not only here in South Carolina, but across the country today, as several states reported these types of threats at middle schools and high schools across the country. Again, authorities are trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened here, but these are some very familiar scenes, again, that played out in numerous schools.
As we mentioned a moment ago, there were other false calls across the state today. A report of an active shooter at Newberry Middle School was made just after 11:30 this morning. It was the same story in Sumter as they got a hoax call around 10 o'clock this morning in the Low Country. False threats were reported at high schools in Charleston and Beaufort. There was a call at Myrtle Beach Middle School. In Lancaster County, a middle and an elementary school were also targeted. Schools in Oconee and Greenville counties also got calls. More than 15 districts statewide were targeted.
News 19's Nate Stanley spent the day at Blythewood. He has the story from the students' perspective.
Fear, confusion, and anger, just some of the emotions students tell me they're dealing with today. All this starting just shortly after they arrived at school.
I was like, why the police cars come in? It was like 1, 2, 3, and it just kept going and going.
Samantha Threets and her sister Shataria were in class Wednesday morning when they heard the overhead announcement about a lockdown at Blythewood High School. They say at first they weren't sure if it was real.
I thought it was a drill at first, but then I was like, it wouldn't be going down like this.
Shataria says once they heard people were being dismissed by police, she and her classmates crawled through a window to get to safety, unsure of what, if any, threat there was.
So we had to go out the window and then run to the stadium. I was calling my mom and texting my mom and trying to keep in contact with her.
This is a line of guardians. Some tell us they've been waiting out here for hours to pick their children up who have been sent into the stadium.
You know, it's surreal what happened.
Champ Harris is a freshman. He too was in a classroom and feared the worst. He shot this video of students leaving the building.
We started moving stuff up against the door. We seen cops with guns out. It was a scary realization that, you know, there could have been somebody in the building with a gun.
Romario Lopez was trying to get updates from friends and family, but in the commotion, it was hard to know what was really happening.
They said they couldn't find the shooter, so nobody really knew if there was one or not. And I'm saying there was no quote-unquote reports of a shooter, so nobody really knew what was going on.
The confusion and frustration, all for what the Richland County Sheriff called a practical joke, a joke that Lopez certainly does not find funny.
Put everybody's health in danger. You know, all these students, you got 2,000 students in the school, you can't be doing this just for some fun TikTok challenges.
Everyone I spoke with is also glad that nobody was injured and is happy to have reconnected with family. Reporting from Blythewood High School, Nate Stanley, News 19, WLTX.
Columbia Mayor Daniel Rickman releasing to all of this today, saying that he believes this is going to maybe end up being part of a larger hoax. Something that was echoed by the governor today. If confirmed that it was somebody local, though, he says Columbia will support prosecuting the person to the fullest extent of the law.